Welcome to a new episode of Today and Tomorrow, your go to source for deep insights into the world of technology innovations and the policies shaping our digital future. In this episode, we are going to explore the global perspective of tech regulation from US to Europe to India. And thankfully, I'm not here alone to talk to you about this very important topic. I have our wonderful Dieter with us, and we have a guest. So, hi, Dieter.
Well, thanks. We're getting used to doing it in two with a dedicated guest, and I'm very happy that Mahendra Bhandari, he's a founder of GALTER. That's a global academy initiative. Um, that he's joining us today because regulation is a very important issue, especially in times where technology is developing so fast and deep tech has more and more impact on our life. So I'm very happy, Mahendra, that you joined us. I know there is a holiday in India today, so thank you very much for taking your time. And
My
please
pleasure.
explain a little bit about Galter.
Hello. Uh, it is 2 o'clock, 2 p.m. So, good afternoon to my friend Dieter Brockmeyer and Alexander Pinker. And I am founder of Global Academy of Law Tech Education, a pioneering institution which is focusing on emerging frontier and transformational technologies and their interface with legal, regulatory, ethical, and policy framework. Because we at Galter believe that these technologies such as blockchain, AI, fintech, metaverse, quantum computing, and so on and so forth, they play a vital role in our lives. And not only commerce, industry, social life, everything is impacted by these emerging technologies. Therefore, it is the duty of the governmental agencies and the legislature to enact proper and timely legal regulations. And it is the duty of the developers of these technologies, companies, software, hardware companies, to adopt ethical standards so that these technologies are not abused. Although we face challenges every day when cyber crimes are happening, the cryptocurrency heists are taking place, because there is no adequate, stringent, and sufficient laws. So I think today we can take upon these issues, and I would be happy to respond to your issues raised by you.
Well, you mentioned one side, and that's definitely true. We need to definitely to set up rules for these new technologies. On the other hand, especially here in Europe, we have a tendency uh, to push ahead with regulation without
Mhm.
knowing where really the road is leading. So, by over-regulating and creating too much bureaucracy, you are killing opportunity. So that's a big issue we need to keep in mind, and we have to be very careful because other markets move faster, and then then we move ourselves in a disadvantage, and it's the same risk, or it's almost as risky as the other way by pushing forward with the new technologies too fast, unregulated.
I think it's a very thin line, to be honest, that we're walking on because there is the need for regulation, but there's also the need of over regulation, as you said, Dieter. But a question for you too. What do you think are the potential risks of delaying tech regulation in a rapidly advancing sector like AI, blockchain, or whatever you think? What could happen if we just do not move forward?
I think I partly agree with both of you, because technologies are developing and new inventions, new uh, experiments are going on. But every innovation may not be very useful. Some of the innovations may, in time to come, prove counterproductive, prove harmful. So I think the scientists or the technocrats must be given a leverage and an opportunity to innovate. And once they innovate and the technology is put into use cases, then the legal regulations should come into picture. For example, crypto. Let us take an example of crypto. In Europe, we have a market, MiCA. Uh, it is
Mm,
regulating the tokenized assets, digital assets. And the object is that those who are issuing stable coins, they must be properly made accountable.
mm,
Now, one can ask at what stage the law must come into picture. This is a very crucial issue. At what stage the policy makers should make the law, because the law will definitely control the action. That's the very nature of the law. The
mm,
law will put some conditions, some restrictions on our unlimited power. Therefore, in my opinion, whether it is USA or Europe or India, uh, the legislature or the policy makers should initially, in my opinion, issue some sandbox where they can, I would say, insulate, or they can provide opportunities to the inventors to invent without worrying about the regulations.
mm,
Once the invention has matured and it is ready for use cases, and if there is any instances of abuses, like cryptocurrencies are being abused,
mm,
uh, unknown players, because lack of KYC, know your customer, exchanges are committing theft. We have seen all kind of things.
mm,
In AI, we have seen the deep fakes are coming. Recently, we all have known how one poor retired person got cheated because of he believed a deep fake video of Elon Musk and invested huge money. This is the latest case. So here we need law where those who are abusing the process, whether they are fraudsters or cyber criminals or even the technology developers, they must be made accountable. So, concluding this point, I would say that technology must be allowed to develop, innovation should be allowed to happen, but simultaneously, the policymakers must be aware, must be watchful, and parallelly, I would say, because law always conduct human relations. Initially, human relation will happen, and then law will come to regulate it. So, same thing in technology. Let technology flourish, let technology develop, and simultaneously, the legal and not only legal, ethical behavior should also be adopted, because ethics is also a part of legal is
mm,
binding, but ethics is self binding.
mm,
I will not do this thing, it is a self binding thing for me. I will not promote deep fake, it is self binding for me. And the law will punish those who are creating deep fakes, or
mm.
those who are investing or trading in crypto without following the KYC norms. They will be punished, they will be heavily penalized. So both law and technology, law and ethics should go together. This is what I feel.
I fully agree. Still, what we are seeing is a tendency to to overregulating. You have general law, and general law is giving all the basics, and all the basics should also apply to new technology. So, also in internet, you are not allowed to commit fraud. Uh, and to steal money from people. So this is already there. Of course, the transition is a problem, but still, yeah,
I
it's a
will say
difficult
one thing
issue.
more. Please
Mhm.
allow me for a minute. Uh, there is a issue and there is a valid concern. I agree with you that sometimes the tech community feels that there is a over regulation.
Mm.
Yes, sometimes their
Yeah,
concern is genuine.
that's
Then
my. Yeah. Mm.
my response is that law is always subject to change.
Mm.
Suppose a
Definitely,
law
yes.
has been
Mm.
created and it
Mm.
is stifling or it is creating obstruction in the innovation. Law can be amended.
Mm. Yeah.
Law
Still,
can be changed
I have a
because
lot
law
of.
is never static. Law is never permanent. It can be
I
amended also if it is creating hurdles in innovation. Yes.
I have still a lot of sympathy for the U.S. approach of wait and see. Of course, it's creating problem. You saw all these new platforms in the crypto field that were hyped because they were considered to be so innovative, and then they took some money of the investors and ran. Um, Yes, that's definitely a problem, and a lot of people were harmed by it. And then the regulation clicked in, and that okay, because we need more specific regulation. Uh, I can understand the approach, and there's a lot in its favor. But of course, you need to find a balance because that people that suddenly billions of dollars are lost for investors because somebody was prudent.
And another thing is, you talked about opening sandboxes, and the policymakers should help innovation flourish. But a thing I often see is that they don't have the expertise to really do this. So, what do you guys think? How could you combine the expertise of the innovators, of the forward thinkers, of the visionaries, with the policymakers? Because many of them I know are not really open to discussion, and they, I need to regulate this, I don't really care what you say, because, well, I'm going to regulate it. And this is a big problem in my opinion.
Uh, you see it in Europe. So when they started to regulate the crypto field, the target was they said we want to bring it the crypto regulation on the same level as the regular normal regulation of the finance markets. What is already the most overregulated markets in the world, especially in Europe. And so rather than deregulating to a necessary limit, they and taking the opportunity in this new field to reform the traditional or the existing financial market regulation. They are bringing up to the same level of overregulation. And that's what I think is the wrong approach.
I think what Alexander has raised the issue that the policymakers are not well equipped with the technical dimensions. Well, you are right, because policymakers who are generally elected people, they are generalists, they are not experts, but they always take help. For example, in India, we have enacted Digital Personal Data Protection Act that is based on GDPR, and now
Mm,
we are in process of enacting Digital India Act. GALTER as a specialized body consisting of technocrats, economists, management experts, legal experts, we advise government. They form technical committees also, and they take feedback from them. Based on their feedback, the legislature frame the law. That law is again discussed with public, with stakeholders like you, me, who are affected, going to be affected. So making legal law is a very well defined process. I was going through the MiCA and AI Act, Europe Act. They have consulted all stakeholders. They have
mm,
consulted European Parliament members, and they have consulted big tech companies whether this law is going to help you or not. So, while making the law, it's a democratic process. It is not that
mm.
just you and me sit in the chamber and enact the law. It's a democratic process. And there is a widespread consultation. And it's good. Now, regarding US and US and European approach, I would say that I would prefer the European approach, which is for early. rise and early reaction. American approach of wait and see, wait and watch. How long wait and watch? What should be the criteria? We cannot, the policymakers who have a responsibility cannot sit idle for a long time, let the crimes happen, let the abuse of technology happen, and then awake and make law rather than the European system. Now, AI is very much in use. There are multiple uses of AI and abuses also. Now, the European law is again a pioneer law, European uh,
Mm,
AI Act, which is going to be implemented soon. GDPR is I would say a model law for several countries. I am conducting countrywide workshops on our DPDP Act, and I compare the DPDP Act of India versus GDPR, and I find that this GDPR has helped several countries. It's a pioneering law, I would say, on data privacy and data protection.
mm,
So, my opinion, one may agree with me or not, that's a different thing. But I prefer the European approach over American approach.
mm,
And if you talk to about India, if you allow me to say, in India, uh, see, though we are in the forefront
mm,
of digital revolution, in 2002, when IT Act, Information Technology Act was first enacted, we had 5.5 million internet users. Today in 2024, we have 850 million internet users. The internet penetration is very deep in Indian uh, society. Mobile telephony, which is a big tool in bringing digital revolution, is we are having largest number of mobile handsets with Indians. So now India must be proactive. So far we have not been proactive. We
mm,
took lot of time in enacting DPDP Act. The first act was in IT, Information Technology Act 2000. Some amendments were made from time to time, but we took almost 40 years, 22 years to enact another important law, that is DPDP Act. Now, one more law, which is based on the European law of AI, that is Digital India Act. It is still in the infancy
mm.
stage. We are giving our inputs to the government, Ministry of Information and Technology, that what should be the shape of Digital India Act, and we are discussing and we are consulting European AI Act also, as we did in case of DPDP Act. We consulted GDPR. So in India, now our policymakers are active. They are in active mode and they want
Mhm.
that we cannot achieve our target of digital revolution unless we have a safe and secure legal environment to prevent abuse, to create trust in the mind of people that technology is safer for them. And if cyber crimes happen, they will get justice. So I think India is right track now. Though slow. If we
Mm.
compare it with Europe, we are slow. But
Mhm.
yes, our policymakers are now aware of their responsibility in handling these deep tech framework.
Well, I'm sure the EU Commissioner Ursula von der Leyen will be very happy to hear all this praise you give to EU policy making. Still, I have a lot of objectives and complaints against it. And this is the micromanagement that is included in all this legislation and all this barking up wrong trees, as I call it. When you have the cookie policy, where you
Mhm.
actively have to agree for cookies, to accept cookies. That makes it very difficult, and for the user when he wants to get a quick info, and first he has to click this damn button.
Yep.
I know that I have to accept cookies. Um, and on the other hand, So this micromanagement is so my approach is um, what I demand in my book Campus is that we should go more to long-lasting general regulations rather
Mhm.
than creating this micromanagement. Micromanagement was okay 50 years ago when things were taking so long to develop and to change. But now things are moving so fast, and as policymaker, you always have the problem that you are reactive, because first something is happening, then you see the necessity to react, then you start this democratic process, and especially in the EU, it takes very long because you have all these member states that have
Mm.
to agree to new policies. So once a policy is in place, the danger is very big that already the markets have been developed and the technology have developed into a completely different sector. So you are behind again. So I think we have to find ways for a more general, longer lasting legislation, just focusing on the key points and say, yeah,
Yeah.
and it's valid and it's applicable to all new technologies and all new things we cannot think of yet. But of course, this requires a change of mindset, especially our policymakers who are still living in the traditional world are not ready for.
You already started to talk about it, Ita, and we all talked about it. We talked a lot about today. We talked about the US approach, the EU approach, the Indian approach. But this podcast is called Today and Tomorrow. And to be honest, we could talk hours about what's not going right. But what I would really love to know is, how would you wish regulation to be like? To be honest, my wish for a global collaboration, my wish would be a global collaboration. So we work all together. We have the Indian view, the US view, the EU view. Work a little bit adaptive, iterative, find a balance between innovation and oversight, and to find a good way to learn from all countries, of all regulations out there, to find the best approach. Because what we learned in this episode by now is, one approach is slow, the other is a little bit dangerous, the other is bureaucratic and overregulated. That does not sound like a good plan. So, what would be your opinion of the best possible regulation for the future? How would you tackle this issue?
I think, Alexander, you have raised a very important issue, and which we have been raising on all fora and with the government. And I'm happy that the government has taken note of it. When India was having G20 presidency 2 years back, we tried to bring all G20 nations together to frame a uniform or a generally agreeable crypto regulations, because we believe that technology is not a country specific. It transcends the borders. Any technology, and especially the technology like internet or uh, G3, G4, G5, internet is across the world. Sitting in India, I am talking to you, you are sitting in Europe. So that is the beauty of technology. Technology has connected all of us. Therefore, I agree with you, Alexander, that country specific or a pigeonhole approach for making laws for one country, different law for another country, again third law for third country may not be helpful. If we come across a consensus, I think this consensus can be achieved through UN platform, through WTO platform, through any other platform. And countries can come together, share their experiences, share their concern, and enact a globally acceptable legal framework. I generally give one example every time when I speak on different platforms. Intellectual property law, patent, trademark, copyrights, all these things.
Hmm.
The WTO has created a trade related intellectual property framework. which says that every country which is member of WTO, World Trade Organization, has to follow the minimum standards of TRIPS regulation. For example, the patent shall be for 20 years term. The
Mhm.
term of the patent will be 20 years. Earlier in India, we used to give patent for 13 years. In biotechnology, we used to give for 7 years. Now, across all the technological patents, it is 20 years. Because we are a member of WTO and we have to accept the norms established by TRIPS agreement. Similarly, we can have a uniform law to regulate AI, a uniform law to regulate crypto, a uniform law to regulate metaverse, and so on. A uniform law to regulate space. In space, we have certain norms. In air travel, there is a ICAI, which regulates the air traffic control universally. So why not in matter of technology, we can adopt a universal approach based on consensus. And that consensus can be developed by our leaders across the world and the UN or any other platform. UN is a larger body that can take initiative in bringing countries together. These are the recommendations I have been giving time and again on different fora, that let us unite together. Today we are discussing different regulations for different technology. It's a small attempt. We are three people. Tomorrow it could be 100 people, it can be 1000 people, and they can sit and in a convention or in a larger conference they can discuss, and they can raise their concern that in my country I am facing this problem. So that would be the best approach. I agree with you, Dieter and Alexander, fully, that there is a need for consensus globally.
Well, I fully agree. The problem is that right now, when we look at international relations, they are tensing up, and it's so um, this approach will be at the moment is very difficult to even get close to because the interests are so diverse right now and so ideology driven that everybody insists on my position, and that's a problem. But this also gives me the opportunity, Mahendra, to talk about our joint project we are going to launch. It will it we will started a course, the diplomatic deep tech diplomacy course end of the year. And yes, all these issues will definitely will be part of that. And also, of course, how diplomacy itself is impacted
That,
by
that would be a game
deep tech.
changer course.
Mm.
Dieter, I'm sure. I've spoken to some career diplomats in India, and I have shared details with Ingrid also. This attempt, our this effort, which we are working on, the project, I think it would be a game changer. It
Mm.
will help people understand how diplomacy can play a vital role in promoting consensus when it comes to deep tech. So that would be a very important, and I am very enthusiastic, very uh, optimistic about this new project. And I thank you both for joining Galter in promoting this kind of uh, learning, sharing experience with world at large.
Well, and actually, I have to give a big thank to Ingrid Vasilio Veldis, who was our guest in the previous episode, because she's also part in this deep tech initiative, the deep tech diplomacy initiative, and she was bringing us together. So you see how game changing our little podcast already is.
Mhm. Sure, I agree. No, no, we will soon meet again and fine tune our preparations, what we are doing.
Mhm.
Soon we will have another opportunity, and we can continue with these kind of podcast in future also.
And as you heard, dear listeners and viewers, there are a lot of opportunities, there is a lot of perspective, and we are going to have to talk a lot about this issue because it's never ending. And a little bit brings us this to the end of our conversation on tech regulation and different approaches shaping the future of innovation. And I'm very thankful that you joined us, that you gave us your opinion, gave us an insight in your mind. And of course, Dieter, thank you as well for giving us all the insights and talks. Do you have any last and final words for our listeners and viewers? What would you give them in one sentence, two sentences to start changing the regulation area in this innovation space? What would you want to say to them?
My message is that let us cooperate globally, let us try to understand the nitty-gritties of the technologies, and let us push the policymakers to rise to the occasion and create timely regulations so that the abuses of technologies can be prevented or checked, and those who are committing crimes using technologies should be booked to justice. That would be necessary to create trust of people in our new technologies, which are
Mhm.
highly disruptive one.
I fully agree, and but I have to add one thing. What I said before, we need to promote to readiness for compromise on a global scale, because if we can't reach that goal anymore, and we are not ready to or accepting compromise, all of these good initiatives will fail. So please, everybody, return to the table.
Thank you. Well said. Well said.
And my final idea is tech regulation must strike a balance between preventing harm and fostering innovation. Overregulation, in my opinion, can stifle startups, disrupt innovation ecosystems, while underregulation can allow unchecked risks. So we need to find the middle way. The sandboxes we heard about. This is my wish for the future of regulation. And herefore, we end this episode of Today and Tomorrow. I hope you found some new insights and the discussion shed some light on uh, the current status of globalization and how global leaders, tech giants, policymakers are navigating the challenging yet exciting landscape of emerging technologies. Again, a big thank you to you two guys.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you to all our viewers. You know the drill. Subscribe to the to Spotify and everything. Look forward to the next episode. We say thank you, goodbye, ciao, ciao, and bye.